Yes, hi everybody. Today I wanted to announce that I've written my first book for adults, and also to welcome you to this live. And I hope you're having a good day, and things aren't getting too much for you with everything else that's going on in the country right now. The book that I've just had published is called Truth Be Told: Revelations for a Just World, and I'm just going to hold it up for you to have a look. This is what it looks like. This is the front cover. That was my cat there just joining us. Truth Be Told: Revelations for a Just World. And in the show notes, I will put how you can get access to it if you'd like to buy it. Yeah, thank you for joining. It's really great. And I'm going to read to you a little bit from chapter 6 of the book. So the book's vignettes from my life story, how I grew up in poverty, and survivor of domestic violence as a child. Coming from an ethnic minority family that moved here when I was 5, not being able to speak the language and feeling disconnection. And what I'm calling for with writing this book is to end the silence around the care system and its failings, how our system's power structures fail the most voiceless and the vulnerable, children in care, refugees, survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and how we can unite now at this time in the 21st century, how the time is right for us all to unite and take quantum leaps to change the power structures so that they serve human beings and don't work against human beings. Because why have we tolerated and accepted this for so long? The systems are outdated and they need to be changed, and we can unite to do that. And the first way to do that is by speaking up about what we're all going through, what you might be going through as a refugee, as an asylum seeker, as a survivor of sexual assault, and how you've been failed by the system. I mean, you know, at the moment, rapists are allowed to get off scot-free from the crimes that they've committed, and there's really not a lot of hope for people, for women. Majority of them are rape survivors reporting what's happened to the system because they don't see justice done. Anyway, so this is from chapter 6. Thank you for the music. This is a time of my life when music was my savior. I was 11 years old. I'd been going through a lot of physical violence at the hands of my father, and music proved to be my savior and my healer. About 6 months after starting secondary school, I turned to music as a healer. Without music, I'm certain I would be dead by now. My self-esteem was at an all-time low after failing to get into Monmouth Girls' School and escaping from home, and more so from all the beatings from my father, whom I'd loved more than anyone else in the world. I needed solace, and it felt like I couldn't find it in writing anymore, nor in netball or acting, so I decided to learn to play an instrument. My first choice was the saxophone, but the instrument was too expensive for my father, so then I decided to learn the flute. We were already learning the recorder in music lessons every week with the school's elderly music teacher, Mrs. Margaret Mullins, a Jewish-looking woman on the edge of retirement, who sang out of tune and whose conducting skills could have done with some revision as they were usually off the beat. Anyhow, this would be an additional paid-for lesson with a peripatetic music teacher named Mr. Peter Tompkins, a kindly, slightly perplexed-looking man with dark hair and grey-green eyes. I enjoyed the flute from the start. Within a few months of taking up the instrument, I was reading music and playing quavers, fairly quick half-beat notes. I looked forward to the lessons eagerly and to practicing the new pieces at home in the evenings, though not every evening. I loved classical music and joined the school orchestra. It was good to be part of a group of children who also liked music. In the meantime, I had become friends with a girl called Jeanette Holly. She had shoulder-length hair that was extremely blonde, usually tying it up in a ponytail. She lived in Sedbury, the village on the other side of the school, and had a younger brother, Johnny, and a younger sister, Debbie. She was also friends and near neighbours with the Davis family. Sharon Davis was in the same class as us. She walked with her feet pointed inward like a pigeon. She was an earnest, well-behaved girl. She once said I was coy, and I had to look up what that meant. She had an older sister aged around 18 called Linda, who worked in the village shop, and a younger sister named Joanne, who we all called Mavis. So, Mavis Davis. Her mother had the largest bottom of any woman I'd ever seen. I remember her cycling around, and it was a sight that stayed in my memory forever, mainly because Firstly, I couldn't understand how such a large bottom could balance on such a petite bike saddle. And secondly, I wondered how she was so physically disproportionate with a skinny torso and this humongous rear. Jeanette and I like to sing, and I had just discovered the Swedish group ABBA. Thank you for the music. It was keeping me sane after the beatings. I had a new outlet with which to express myself. Jeanette being blonde now morphed into Agneta. I was brunette, so of course I became Anna Fried, aka Frida. Frida was sultry, and her deeper voice more closely resembled my own pitch. Who would be the boys in the band? Benny and Bjorn. Johnny Davis wanted to be in, but we considered him to be too young and far from good looking enough. So instead, we had my brother as Benny and Jeanette's boyfriend Richard taking the role of Bjorn. My brother and I weren't allowed to mix with the other children after school. That was the number one rule in the house. But by now, I was needing the music to keep me from going insane with all the control, discipline, and homework that my father imposed. Sometimes it felt like being in the army. School was light in comparison. So my brother and I made a deal with Mum that we would practice in the ABBA band for 2 afternoons a week after school finished at 3:30 p.m. and be home from Jeanette's by 5 p.m, getting home before Dad did at his usual time of 5:30 p.m. It was always a bit of a scary time, knowing the clock was ticking and we had to be mindful of it, but the fun was too much. Jeanette had a shed in her garden, and the 4 of us would lock ourselves in there and sing to our heart's content. The first ABBA song I learned was SOS, kind of apt given my inner despair at the time, and then Thank You for the Music, Dancing Queen, and my favourite was always Knowing Me, Knowing You. And so that's some of the chapter 6, and again, truth be told, Revelations for a Just World, where I talk about stories from my life and the failings of the power structures and how we're in a position to be poised to now change them. And I hope that we can all unite to do that. Thank you for listening, and I'm wishing you a good day.